Zaltharak circled the small human dwelling with 6 calculating eyes scanning every corner. Her tentacles twitched with scholarly excitement as she recorded observations into her neural database. This was her first official contact with a human specimen after 3 cycles of studying Earth from orbit. The Galactic Science Council had finally approved her research proposal, despite significant opposition. The human female, called Samantha Morgan, stood watching the alien visitor with surprising calm. Most humans would scream or run at the sight of a 7-foot-tall cephalopod creature with bioluminescent skin, but Samantha simply offered a gentle smile. Her brown hair fell loosely around her shoulders as she leaned against the doorframe of her isolated countryside home. "We appreciate your willingness to participate in our cultural exchange program," said Zaltharak, her translation device converting her clicks and whistles into basic English. Her home world had been monitoring Earth for decades before deciding to make contact. Most species in the galactic community considered humans too unpredictable and possibly dangerous. But Zaltharak had volunteered to study them directly. Samantha nodded and gestured toward her living room. "No problem. I think it's cool that aliens want to learn about us instead of just blowing us up like in the movies. Though I still can't believe I got selected for this." Zaltharak tilted her bulbous head in confusion. Her species had no concept of fiction. They recorded and analyzed but never created imaginary scenarios. The human tendency to invent stories about things that never happened was fascinating and somewhat disturbing to the logical alien mind. "Your psychological profile indicated minimal fear response to unknown stimuli," explained Zaltharak. "That makes you an ideal first contact subject." Her tentacles arranged themselves neatly as she moved through the doorway, careful not to damage the human structure with her large form. The alien scholar settled her gelatinous body onto the reinforced chair, specially designed for her visit. "My primary research focuses on understanding human emotional responses, particularly fear," she explained while arranging her tentacles in a formal pattern. "Our species has evolved beyond emotional reactions. We process information logically without the chemical interference of feelings." Samantha tucked her hair behind her ear and sat across from the visitor. "Really no fear at all? What happens when you face danger?" She seemed genuinely curious, her eyes studying the alien with interest rather than revulsion. Zaltharak blinked her 6 eyes in sequence. "We assess threat levels and respond with appropriate action. Fear serves no purpose except to cloud judgment." She extended a sensory tentacle toward the human, careful to maintain appropriate distance. "Our historical records show that we once experienced primitive emotional responses, but we evolved past them nearly 50,000 years ago." "That sounds boring," said Samantha with a small laugh. Her directness startled the alien, who was accustomed to the formal diplomatic exchanges with human government representatives. "I am particularly interested in why humans intentionally seek fear responses," continued Zaltharak. "My preliminary research shows that humans consume entertainment designed to frighten them. This behavior seems counterproductive to survival." Her skin rippled with colors indicating scientific curiosity. Samantha brightened. "You mean horror movies and haunted houses?" "Yeah, we love that stuff. The adrenaline rush is fun when you're actually safe." She leaned forward on the couch, her interest clearly piqued. "Would you like me to show you some examples?" Zaltharak extended a recording tentacle. "Yes, please demonstrate." "This contradiction requires further study." Samantha reached for her tablet. "Sure, I can show you some YouTube compilations. People react hilariously to scary stuff." She tapped on the screen, bringing up videos, while the alien watched with all 6 eyes, focused intently. The alien scholar observed as Samantha played videos labeled "Jump Scare Compilation." The screen showed humans voluntarily watching frightening content, then screaming, leaping, or displaying other extreme physical responses. Zaltharak recorded everything, as the humans on screen seemed to experience terror, then immediately laughed afterward, sometimes with tears streaming down their faces. "I do not understand," said Zaltharak. "These humans appear genuinely distressed, yet they continue watching and seem to derive pleasure from the experience." Her tentacles twisted in the equivalent of a puzzled expression. Samantha nodded. "It's about the rush. The feeling of fear in a safe environment. It's exciting. She paused, thinking, maybe because our ancestors needed fear to survive, but modern life is pretty safe for most of us, so we miss that feeling sometimes. The alien considered this explanation thoughtfully. Her species had evolved in the methane oceans of their homeworld where predators were non-existent. They developed intelligence without ever experiencing predation. Perhaps this fundamental difference explained much about human unpredictability. Would you be willing to demonstrate? A fear response, Zaltharak asked, her recording appendages ready. The Science Council would value direct observation. Samantha grinned mischievously. Actually, I have something better. She tapped on her tablet again, selecting a different video. This is called a roller coaster. The video showed humans strapped into devices that hurled them at high speeds along twisted metal tracks. Their screams filled the audio as their vehicles plummeted from great heights. The humans had expressions of terror, but also raised their arms voluntarily to increase sensation. They built this device specifically to create fear, asked Zaltharak incredulously. Her skin flashed patterns of disbelief. Not just fear, explained Samantha. It's about excitement, thrill-pushing, boundaries. We like testing our limits even when it scares us. She swiped through more videos showing bungee jumping, skydiving, and other extreme activities. The people in these videos are having fun even though they're terrified, Zaltharak recorded. Everything her homeworld scientists would be fascinated by this behavior. This tendency might explain why humans had advanced so quickly as a species. Their willingness to face fear rather than avoid it drove innovation in ways the alien civilization had never experienced. Humans are the only known species to deliberately seek frightening experiences for enjoyment, noted Zaltharak. This requires further study. Her tentacles moved quickly, documenting observations. Samantha watched the alien with growing curiosity. What about your planet? What do your people do for fun? She asked. Zaltharak paused her recording. The concept of fun does not translate precisely. We engage in knowledge acquisition, mathematical contemplation, and species improvement. Our society functions as a collective intelligence with each individual contributing to our shared knowledge. No games, no sports, nothing, just for enjoyment. Samantha seemed genuinely surprised. The alien considered, we have optimization challenges and efficiency competitions. These serve to improve our capabilities, but I believe they lack the emotional component you describe as fun. Samantha shook her head. That sounds like homework, not entertainment. She stood up suddenly, causing Zaltharak to flinch slightly. Would you like something to drink? I have water, juice, soda. The concept of hospitality was familiar to Zaltharak, though the casual nature of the human version seemed strange. Water would be acceptable. Thank you, my environmental suit can filter it, she replied. As Samantha went to the kitchen, Zaltharak reviewed her initial findings. The human tendency to seek fear contradicted all logical behavior patterns, yet seemed central to their rapid advancement as a species. This required extensive documentation. Samantha returned with a glass of water and placed it on the table within reach of Zaltharak's tentacles. So what else did you want to know about humans? She asked, settling back onto the couch. Zaltharak carefully picked up the glass with a specialized appendage. What drives humans to explore dangerous environments when safety is available? This behavior pattern appears throughout your history. Samantha thought for a moment. Curiosity probably, and the thrill of discovery, sometimes boredom. She smiled. We don't like staying in one place doing the same thing forever. We need new experiences, new challenges. The alien processed this information. Your species intentionally seeks uncertainty. This explains much about your technological development patterns, but raises questions about your long-term stability. I guess that's fair, said Samantha. But if your people never try anything new or scary, how do you grow? Her question was simple but profound. Zaltharak had no immediate answer. Our growth is planned, measured, predictable, she finally responded. But she realized as the words formed that her species had been technologically stagnant for millennia. while humans had advanced from primitive agriculture to space exploration in a fraction of that time. Perhaps there was value in their emotional chaos after all. This realization disturbed Zaltharak in ways she had not anticipated. Her mission to study human fear was already challenging her most basic assumptions about intelligent life. As evening approached, Samantha suggested they continue their cultural exchange over a meal. Zaltharak watched with fascination as the human prepared food in her kitchen. The concept of cooking was foreign to the alien whose species absorbed nutrients directly through their skin membranes. "I can't eat human food, obviously, but I'd love to observe your eating rituals," said Zaltharak, her tentacles moving to record the process. Her species considered eating a private biological function, not a social activity. Samantha moved around the kitchen with practiced ease. "Nothing fancy tonight, just pasta with tomato sauce and vegetables," she explained while stirring a pot of boiling water. "But food is really important to humans. We socialize around meals, celebrate with special foods, and even show love by cooking for each other." The alien scholar noted this information. The connection between sustenance and emotional bonding was unexpected. Her species viewed nutrition as purely functional. When the meal was ready, Samantha sat at the table across from her alien visitor. The pasta steamed on her plate as she twirled it around her fork. "I was thinking about what you said earlier about fear," she said before taking a bite. "How does your species handle dangerous situations without emotional responses?" Zaltharak arranged her tentacles thoughtfully. "We process threat assessment logically. Potential dangers are evaluated based on statistical probability and appropriate responses are calculated." Her skin rippled with subtle color changes as she explained. "Our neural networks evolved to prioritize species survival without requiring emotional motivation." Samantha chewed slowly. "Considering this, that makes sense, I guess. But emotions aren't just about motivation. They're about connection too." She gestured with her fork. "Think about it. Fear isn't just about running away from danger. Sometimes it brings people together. We comfort each other when we're scared. We protect each other." The alien had never considered this perspective. Our species connects through direct neural communication. "We share information, not emotions," she explained. But as the words formed, Zaltharak realized this might explain why human bonds seemed so intense despite their inefficient communication methods. Emotions created connections that transcended logical association. After dinner, Samantha suggested another demonstration. "Would you like to watch a horror movie with me?" she asked. "It's a classic human experience." Zaltharak agreed immediately, eager to observe more fear responses. The human selected a film called The Haunting and dimmed the lights, explaining that atmosphere enhanced the experience. As the movie played, Zaltharak observed Samantha carefully. The human displayed fascinating physiological responses to the fictional events. Heart rate increased, pupils dilated, skin conductivity changed. Occasionally, she would jump at sudden noises or hide her eyes during intense scenes, only to laugh afterward. "This behavior pattern is fascinating," noted Zaltharak. "You know these events are not real yet. Your body responds as if they were." Samantha nodded, clutching a pillow to her chest. "That's the fun part. Our brains know it's fake, but our bodies don't. It's like practicing being scared in a safe environment." The concept of practicing emotional responses was entirely new to Zaltharak. Her species eliminated emotions rather than refining them. Could this be why humans adapted so quickly to new situations? They had essentially trained themselves through entertainment. When the movie ended, Samantha stretched and yawned. "So what did you think?" "The narrative structure was illogical," replied Zaltharak. "The human characters made decisions that decreased their survival probability." Samantha laughed. "That's part of horror movies. People make bad decisions because they're scared. It's frustrating but realistic. Fear doesn't always make us smarter. Sometimes it makes us freeze up or do stupid things." Her explanation revealed another layer of complexity to human emotions. They could both enhance and impair function. As night fell, Samantha prepared for sleep. Another concept, foreign to Zaltharak's species who required only short regeneration periods. We can continue tomorrow. She told the alien, I set up the guest room for you. Though I don't know if you need it. Zaltharak thanked her for the accommodation. My species does not sleep as humans do, but I will use the time to process my observations and prepare my report for the Science Council. While Samantha slept, Zaltharak reviewed her findings. The contradiction of humans seeking fear, yet using it to drive innovation, challenged everything she had been taught. The galactic community had always viewed emotions as evolutionary, holdovers, primitive responses that advanced civilizations outgrew. Yet humans seemed to harness these responses, integrating them into their development rather than eliminating them. The most puzzling aspect was how humans transformed fear into positive experiences. The roller coaster videos showed humans experiencing terror, then immediately expressing joy. The horror movie created anxiety that Samantha described as enjoyable. These contradictions suggested a complexity to emotional processing that Zaltharak's species had never explored. Morning arrived and Samantha emerged from her bedroom looking refreshed. Hey, did you manage? Okay, last night, she asked. Preparing a beverage she called coffee. Yes, thank you, replied Zaltharak. I have been analyzing our discussions. Human emotional responses appear more nuanced than our initial research indicated. Samantha smiled, stirring her coffee. Well, emotions are complicated. They overlap and change. Even fear isn't always just fear. Sometimes it's mixed with excitement, curiosity, even pleasure. She sipped her drink. So, what's on the agenda today? Zaltharak extended a tentacle toward her data tablet. I would like to learn more about how humans use fear constructively. You mentioned that fear can bring humans together. I wish to understand this mechanism further. Samantha considered this for a moment. I have an idea, she said suddenly. We should go camping. My friends Kimberly and Laura were planning a trip this weekend. They wouldn't mind if we joined sleeping outdoors, telling scary stories around a campfire. It's another classic human experience. The alien scholar processed this suggestion. Outdoor recreation would provide new observational opportunities, and interaction with additional humans would add valuable data to her research. The Science Council would be impressed with such comprehensive fieldwork. That would be most informative, agreed Zaltharak. Though I must maintain low visibility. My presence on Earth remains classified information, Samantha waved dismissively. Don't worry, Kim and Laura have security clearance. They're part of the contact program too. They just weren't selected for the homestay portion. She tapped on her communication device. I'll let them know we're coming. While Samantha made arrangements, Zaltharak considered the implications. Camping seemed to combine several human behaviors that defied logical understanding. They would voluntarily leave secure shelter to sleep in primitive conditions, expose themselves to wildlife and environmental hazards, and then deliberately frighten each other with stories they knew were false. By midday, they were packed into Samantha's vehicle heading toward a forested area. Several hours from her home, Zaltharak observed the landscape through the window, noting how humans had both altered and preserved their natural environment. The contrast between their technological cities and untamed wilderness reflected their contradictory nature. We always camp at this spot, explained Samantha. As they drove, it's beautiful and secluded enough that you won't have to worry about being seen. Zaltharak processed visual data of the forest, mountains, and lake they were approaching. Your planet has remarkable biodiversity, she commented. Our world has become largely uniform as we optimized environmental conditions. Samantha glanced at her alien passenger. That sounds sad, like you lost something by making everything perfect. The concept of perfection having a negative aspect had never occurred. To Zaltharak, uniformity and optimization were fundamental values in her civilization. Yet humans seemed to value diversity and unpredictability, even when they created inefficiency. They arrived at the campsite to find Kimberly and Laura already setting up tents. Both humans displayed initial shock at seeing Zaltharak despite their clearance briefings. The alien's appearance was evidently more startling in person than in documentation. Wow, you're really tall, said Kimberly, recovering quickly. Her red hair was pulled back in a practical style and she wore clothing suitable for outdoor activities. And those tentacles are amazing, added Laura, a dark-skinned human with short, curly hair. Welcome to Earth. Officially, Xaltharak, extended tentacles, in greeting. Thank you for allowing me to join your recreational activity. My research focuses on human emotional responses, particularly fear. Kimberly laughed, exchanging glances with Laura. Well, you're in for a treat. Then camping is full of little fears. The dark wildlife, strange noises. She grinned. But that's what makes it fun as the humans set up their campsite. Xaltharak recorded their interactions, noting the efficient way they worked together, despite having no neural connection. Their verbal communication seemed inefficient, yet they anticipated each other's needs and coordinated actions smoothly. This social cohesion without direct neural linking was another fascinating aspect of human behavior. The day progressed with the humans engaging. In various activities, they swam in the lake, hiked through the forest, and prepared food over an open fire. Xaltharak observed how they seemed to derive pleasure from these primitive tasks, despite having advanced technology available. This contradiction requires explanation, she noted. Why do humans choose inefficient methods when efficient ones exist? As the sun began to set, the humans gathered around the campfire they had built. Laura struck a match and carefully lit the kindling. The flames grew slowly, casting dancing shadows across the forest. Clearing, Xaltharak observed how the fire created an atmosphere that seemed to affect the humans' emotional states. Their voices lowered, their bodies relaxed, and they moved closer together. Sometimes efficiency isn't the point, Samantha explained, noticing the alien's observation. Sometimes the process itself is valuable. The journey, not just the destination, Kimberly nodded, adding sticks to the growing fire. Exactly like this campfire. We could use portable heaters or LED lights, but it wouldn't be the same. There's something primal about fire, something that connects us to our ancestors. Laura pulled out a bag of white puffy objects, marshmallows, she announced with enthusiasm. Essential camping food, Xaltharak recorded as the humans demonstrated the ritual of roasting marshmallows over the open flame. They showed remarkable patience, waiting for the food to heat properly despite the risk of burning. Each human had a different technique, some rotating constantly, others holding the stick steady above the flames. Some deliberately set their marshmallows on fire, claiming this created the best flavor. The ceremonial aspect of food preparation continues to show significance in human social bonding, noted Xaltharak. The inefficiency appears to be a feature, not a flaw. As darkness fell completely, the humans' mood shifted subtly. They moved closer to the fire and to each other. Their conversation turned to stories specifically designed to elicit fear responses. Time for ghost stories, announced Kimberly, her face illuminated from below by the flickering flames. It's tradition. Ghost stories, repeated Xaltharak. These are narratives about deceased humans whose consciousness persists. Her research had documented human superstitions, but she had not observed them in practice. Sort of, said Laura. They don't have to be about actual ghosts, just anything scary or creepy. It's another way we play with fear, Samantha nodded, looking for that thrill in a safe environment like we talked about. Plus, it brings us together. Nothing bonds people like being scared. Together. This concept fascinated Xaltharak. The deliberate induction of fear as a social bonding mechanism had no parallel in her species. To them, danger was to be eliminated, not simulated. Kimberly began the first story, describing a group of hikers who encountered strange phenomena in the woods. Her voice dropped to a whisper at tense moments, then suddenly rose for shock effect. The other humans reacted visibly, leaning forward, gasping at surprising turns, and occasionally laughing nervously. Xaltharak observed how the storytelling affected the group dynamics. The humans moved physically closer, their heart rates synchronized, and they maintained eye contact more frequently than during normal conversation. Despite knowing the story was fictional, they responded with genuine physiological fear responses that seemed to create stronger social connections. When Kimberly finished her tale, Laura and Samantha applauded. Their breathing and heart rates gradually returned to normal, though they remained in close proximity. The shared experience of controlled fear appeared to have strengthened their social bonds. "Your turn," Laura said, gesturing to Samantha. Samantha thought for a moment, then began her own story about an abandoned research facility and the experiments that had gone wrong. Saltharak noted how the human incorporated scientific elements, making the implausible seem more believable. The technique enhanced the fear response in the listeners, who could more easily imagine the scenario being possible. When the story reached its climax, Samantha suddenly lunged forward, shouting "Boo!" Kimberly and Laura screamed, then immediately dissolved into laughter. The sudden shock, followed by recognition of safety, triggered both fear and relief, creating what appeared to be a pleasurable emotional experience. "Even knowing it was coming, I still jumped," said Laura, wiping tears of laughter from her eyes. "That's what makes it fun." The alien scholar recorded everything, noting how the deliberate induction of fear in safe contexts seemed to provide humans with both entertainment and social bonding. These benefits might explain why humans continued to value emotional responses that Zaltharak's species had evolved beyond after several more stories. The conversation shifted. Kimberly turned to Zaltharak. "So what scares your species?" she asked. "Do you guys have anything like ghost stories?" Zaltharak considered the question. "We do not experience fear as humans do. Our historical records indicate our ancestors had similar responses, but we evolved past them." Her tentacles shifted in a pattern indicating scientific interest. "However, your question raises an important point. Our species lacks creative fiction entirely. We document and analyze, but never create imaginary scenarios." The humans exchanged glances, appearing surprised. "Wait, you don't have any fiction?" said Laura. "No movies, books, stories, nothing made up?" "None," confirmed Zaltharak. "Such creations would be considered falsehoods without purpose." Her translation device struggled to convey the concept properly, as her language had no precise term for fiction. "That's so sad," said Kimberly. "Fiction is how we explore possibilities, imagine different worlds, and understand ourselves better." She poked at the fire, sending sparks upward. "How do you innovate without imagining things that don't exist yet?" This question startled Zaltharak. Her species' innovation came through logical progression and optimization, not imagination. Yet humans seemed to use fictional scenarios to envision new possibilities before they existed. This might explain their rapid technological advancement, despite their emotional limitations. "We innovate through logical extension of known principles," Zaltharak explained, but she realized as she spoke that human innovation often came through intuitive leaps and creative connections that defied logical progression. The conversation continued late into the night. The humans shared more about their culture, their personal fears, and their dreams for the future. Zaltharak absorbed everything, recognizing that her research was capturing something the galactic community had fundamentally misunderstood about emotions. They were not merely primitive responses, but complex systems that enhanced both individual and group functionality. As the fire burned down to embers, the humans prepared for sleep. They retreated to their tents, leaving Zaltharak to process her observations under the stars. She extended sensory tentacles, recording the sounds of the forest night, the rustle of leaves, the calls of nocturnal creatures, the distant flow of water. The experience was inefficient compared to analyzing data in a laboratory, yet somehow more complete. Morning arrived with beams of sunlight filtering through the trees. Zaltharak had spent the night analyzing her findings and preparing questions for further research. The humans emerged from their tents looking temporarily disoriented, but expressing satisfaction with their sleep despite its primitive conditions. After a breakfast involving the ritual preparation of coffee and something called pancakes, the group embarked on a hiking expedition. Kimberly led the way, following a trail that wound up the mountainside. The physical exertion seemed unnecessary to Zaltharak, whose species had long ago eliminated the need for manual locomotion. Yet the humans appeared to enjoy the challenge. Their respiration increased, their muscles worked, and they perspired profusely. But rather than viewing these as negative states, they described the experience as invigorating. "It's about pushing your limits," explained Laura as they climbed. testing what your body can do. The satisfaction of overcoming something difficult. The path grew steeper and narrower. As they ascended, the drop to one side became more significant. Zoltharak noticed the humans' behavior change subtly. They moved more carefully, spoke less, and occasionally glanced at the edge. Their fear response activated, yet they continued forward, deliberately placing themselves in a position of potential danger. This behavior pattern fits with your tendency to seek controlled fear responses, noted Zoltharak. The height creates danger, but the path provides safety. Samantha nodded, breathing heavily from the climb. Exactly. The view is worth the risk, she said, pointing ahead. They reached a clearing near the summit, and the humans stopped moving. For several minutes, they simply stood gazing at the panoramic view of forests, lakes, and distant mountains. Zoltharak recorded their physiological responses, noting elevated endorphins and dopamine levels despite the recent exertion. Their fear had transformed into appreciation. Beautiful, whispered Kimberly. This is why we do this. Zoltharak analyzed the vista. The proportional arrangement of geographical features, light refraction through atmospheric conditions, and color variations did create a statistically unusual visual pattern. But the human response seemed to transcend mere visual appreciation. They appeared to be experiencing something deeper, more connected. This isn't just about the view, is it? Inquired Zoltharak. Laura shook her head. No. It's about feeling small in a big world. Remembering we're part of something larger than ourselves. She gestured at the vast landscape. Sometimes we need to be reminded that we're tiny in the grand scheme of things. It's humbling. The concept of deliberately seeking experiences that diminished one's perceived importance contradicted everything in Zoltharak's understanding of advanced species. Her civilization continuously worked to assert control over their environment, not to feel humbled by it, yet the humans seemed to find value in this perspective as they rested at the summit. The humans shared food and water. They took photographs to document the return journey to the campsite was faster than the ascent. The humans seemed to enjoy the downward path, laughing as they occasionally slipped on loose stones. Each near fall triggered brief fear responses, followed immediately by humor. Zoltharak noted this pattern repeatedly. Humans transforming potential danger into communal amusement. By late afternoon, they had returned to camp and begun preparing for their second night. Laura suggested swimming in the lake before dinner. The water temperature will be cold, warned Kimberly. But that's part of the fun, Zoltharak observed as the humans changed into swimming attire and approached the lake. They tested the water with their toes, confirming it was indeed cold. Then, after brief hesitation, they ran forward and plunged in. Their bodies reacted with shock gasps and shrieks, followed by laughter. Samantha surfaced, her hair slicked back. Come in, she called to Zoltharak. Your environmental suit can handle water, right? The alien scholar considered the invitation. Her protective membrane would indeed maintain functionality in water, but the purpose of the activity remained unclear. My research does not require direct participation, she noted. Laura splashed water in Samantha's direction. Sometimes, you learn more by experiencing than by observing, she called back. Some things can't be understood from the outside. This statement contradicted Zoltharak's scientific training. Objective observation was the foundation of knowledge. Yet the human suggested that some understanding required subjective experience. This represented a fundamental difference in epistemological approach. After brief calculation of risks, Zoltharak moved toward the water. Her movement on land was awkward compared to the humans, but as soon as her tentacles touched the lake, she felt an immediate difference. Water was closer to her species, natural environment. The sensation activated ancient neural pathways. Her body remembered the methane oceans of her homeworld. She slid into the lake completely, her tentacles extending in all directions underwater. The humans watched with fascination as Zoltharak moved with sudden grace. Her bioluminescent skin glowed beneath the surface, creating patterns of light that reflected through the water. Wow, said Kimberly. You look completely different underwater. Like this is where you belong. Salthorak rotated in the water, extending her sensory appendages. Our ancestors evolved in liquid environments before we adapted to land. This feels she paused, searching for the correct term familiar. The humans swam nearby, occasionally diving beneath the surface to watch the aliens. Graceful movements, Salthorak found herself engaging in motion patterns that served no research purpose, extending tentacles in spiral configurations and propelling her body in complex trajectories. Her neural network registered increased endorphin production. "Are you having fun?" asked Samantha, surfacing beside her. The question startled Salthorak. Malain deep key had been focused on the sensations, not analyzing them. The activity served no research purpose yet. She continued because the realization came suddenly. "I am experiencing enjoyment," she acknowledged. "This is unexpected." The humans exchanged glances, appearing pleased. "So even your species can have fun," said Laura. "Your scientists just forgot how." This suggestion disturbed Salthorak. Had her species deliberately evolved beyond enjoyment or simply forgotten it? The distinction seemed significant. Swimming in this lake served no survival purpose yet. The experience activated neural pathways that had been dormant for generations. As the sun began to set, they left the water. The humans wrapped themselves in fabrics to warm their bodies while Salthorak adjusted her environmental membranes to dry her exterior. The group prepared another meal over the fire, this time cooking food items called hot dogs. During the meal, Samantha asked more questions about Salthorak's world. "Tell us about your planet. What is daily life like there?" Salthorak organized her thoughts. "Our civilization spans multiple connected habitats, both natural and constructed. Most of our species contributes to knowledge accumulation and technological advancement. We communicate through neural networks that allow instant information transfer across vast distances." "Sounds efficient," said Kimberly. "But what about personal life? Do you have families, friends, recreation? We have genetic groupings and collaborative units," explained Salthorak. "But the concepts do not translate precisely. Individual identity exists within the greater collective neural connection, allows for perfect information sharing, eliminating the need for what humans call conversation." Her tentacles shifted as she searched for explanations humans would understand. Each individual exists as part of the whole, contributing their unique neural patterns to our shared consciousness. Laura looked puzzled. "That sounds lonely," she said. "How do you connect with others if everything is just information? Without emotions, what binds you together?" The question had never occurred to Salthorak. "Our neural networks provide connection," she said, but even as she spoke, she realized the human was asking about something different, not information sharing but emotional bonding. The concept that connection required more than data transfer was foreign to her species. As darkness fell, the humans once again gathered around the fire. This time, rather than telling frightening stories, they shared personal experiences, moments of fear they had actually experienced. Kimberly described being lost in a forest as a child. Laura talked about performing on stage for the first time. Samantha shared her experience of nearly drowning. During a storm, Salthorak noted how each story followed a similar pattern. Initial fear followed by resolution and ultimately growth. The humans did not simply survive frightening experiences. They integrated them into their identity, using them to develop new capabilities. This adaptive response to fear seemed central to human development, both individually and as a species. As the conversation continued, the humans began asking Salthorak more personal questions. "Do you ever disagree with your collective?" asked Samantha. "Do individuals ever have thoughts that go against the group?" The question activated security protocols in Salthorak's neural implants. Such information was restricted. Variance was not discussed with outsiders. Yet, these humans had shared their vulnerabilities openly. Their approach to knowledge was cooperative, not restrictive. "I will share something not typically disclosed to other species," said Salthorak, her voice lower. "Individual variance occurs rarely, but exists. In fact, my interest in human emotions represents a form of variance. Most of our scientists consider emotional study irrelevant to advanced species. The admission felt strangely liberating. The humans leaned closer around the fire. "This is why you're really here, isn't it?" said Laura. "It's not just official research, you're curious personally." Zaltharak's skin rippled with colors indicating complex internal states. "Personal curiosity would be considered inefficient," she admitted. "Yet I cannot deny its influence on my research parameters." Her tentacles moved in patterns expressing uncertainty, a rare state for her species. Samantha smiled warmly. "That makes you more like us than you realized. Curiosity is one of our defining traits, especially curiosity about things that don't have immediate practical value." The conversation shifted to deeper topics as the night progressed. The humans shared philosophical perspectives on consciousness, emotion, and purpose. Zaltharak contributed knowledge from her civilization's vast history. They discussed the apparent contradiction between efficiency and innovation, between logic and creativity, between safety and growth as the fire burned lower. Kimberly asked a question that penetrated to the core of Zaltharak's research. "After spending time with us, what do you think? Is fear a weakness that advanced species should evolve beyond? Or is it something valuable, something worth preserving?" Zaltharak considered the question, carefully examining all the data she had gathered. "My species views emotions as evolutionary artifacts, relics of our primitive past," she began. "But your use of fear contradicts our understanding. You deliberately expose yourselves to frightening stimuli, not to overcome fear, but to experience it. You transform fear into recreation, social bonding, even artistic expression." Laura nodded, encouraging her to continue. "The evidence suggests," continued Zaltharak, "that fear serves functions beyond mere survival warning. It appears to drive curiosity, innovation, and social cohesion. Human civilization has advanced rapidly despite or perhaps because of your emotional nature." Her tentacles moved in a pattern indicating scientific revelation. "Our assumptions may be incorrect. Emotions may not be primitive responses to be transcended, but complex systems that serve multiple adaptive functions." The humans sat silently, absorbing her words. The crackling fire and night sounds filled the momentary quiet. Finally, Samantha spoke. "I think that's why we're so fascinated with space exploration. It's terrifying, the vast unknown darkness, the dangers, the isolation. Yet we want to go there anyway. We need that feeling of facing something bigger than ourselves, something that scares us." Zaltharak processed. This insight throughout human history, fear and discovery had been intertwined. Humans pushed boundaries despite fear, or perhaps because of it. They seemed to require the emotional tension between safety and danger, between the known and unknown. As the fire died down to embers, the humans prepared for their final night of sleep. Zaltharak remained by the fading fire, reviewing her research notes. The data suggested conclusions that would challenge the galactic community's understanding of advanced intelligence. Emotions appeared to be not evolutionary baggage, but sophisticated systems that enhanced functionality in ways pure logic could not replicate. The return to Samantha's home was completed in contemplative silence. Zaltharak processed the experiences of the camping trip, while the humans occasionally shared quiet observations about wildlife or landscapes they passed. The alien scholar had gathered more data than anticipated, but the implications extended beyond scientific documentation. Back at the house, Samantha prepared a final meal, while Zaltharak organized her research findings. The camping experience had revealed aspects of human behavior that contradicted the galactic community's understanding. Fear, far from being a primitive response to be overcome, appeared to serve complex functions in human society. As they ate, Samantha noticed the alien's distracted state. "You seem deep." In thought, she observed difficult conclusions. Zaltharak extended a tentacle in affirmation. "My research findings contradict established theories. My species believes that advanced civilizations naturally evolve beyond emotions. Yet your species has achieved remarkable technological advancement while maintaining emotional responses, even integrating them into your development." Samantha considered this. Maybe emotions aren't just leftovers from our evolutionary past. Maybe they're actually tools that help us survive and grow. She took a bite of food before continuing. Think about it. Fear makes us cautious, but also drives us to overcome obstacles. Love makes us protect each other. Curiosity pushes us to learn, even when it's dangerous. Emotions might seem messy and inefficient, but they give us something logic alone doesn't. What would that be? Inquired Zaltharak. Samantha thought for a moment. Purpose, she finally said. Logic can tell you how to do something, but not why you should care about doing it. Emotions give us meaning, connection, reasons to exist beyond just surviving. This concept troubled Zaltharak deeply. Her species had long assumed that pure logical processing represented the pinnacle of evolution. The evidence suggested otherwise. The humans' emotional nature drove them to explore, create, and connect in ways her species had not achieved, despite their supposedly superior neural architecture. As evening approached, Zaltharak prepared for her scheduled communication with the Science Council. Her report would include data that challenged fundamental assumptions. While transmitting encrypted information back to her ship in orbit, she felt an unusual sensation, a reluctance to share certain observations, particularly regarding her personal experiences in the lake. The transmission completed, Zaltharak returned to find Samantha in her living room. I have one more question before my departure tomorrow, she said. One final demonstration of human fear response that I wish to understand. Samantha looked up curiously. What is it? Zaltharak hesitated, her tentacles moving in patterns indicating internal conflict. The human's willingness to experience fear voluntarily remains puzzling. I wish to understand it directly. To experience what you call fear in a controlled setting. Samantha seemed surprised but pleased. You want to feel scared? On purpose? Yes, affirmed Zaltharak. My species evolved beyond fear, but this research suggests that experience may provide insights. Observation alone cannot. Capture. Samantha thought for a moment, then smiled. I know just the thing. She stood and moved to the backyard, gesturing for the alien to follow. In the yard stood a simple device Zaltharak had noticed earlier, but not analyzed. A seat suspended by ropes. Attached to a tree branch, it's called a swing, explained Samantha. It's simple but effective. It creates the sensation of falling, which triggers the fear response, but in a completely safe way. She demonstrated sitting on the swing and pushing off with her feet. The seat carried her in an arc through the air. Her hair streamed behind her as she swung forward and back. The alien scholar observed carefully. The physics were simple, but the experience seemed to create a complex response in the human. Samantha's face showed both excitement and momentary flashes of what appeared to be controlled fear. Your turn, said Samantha, slowing the swing and standing. Zaltharak hesitated. This represented a significant deviation from standard research protocols. Direct experience rather than observation was not the scientific approach her species valued, but the humans had repeatedly suggested that some knowledge required experience rather than observation. The alien scholar moved forward and carefully arranged her tentacles to sit on the reinforced swing. Her body balanced differently than the humans, requiring adjustment. Samantha stood behind her. Ready, asked Samantha. Zaltharak performed rapid calculations of trajectory, force, and stability. There is no significant danger, she noted. The fear response would be illogical. That's the point, laughed Samantha. Just let yourself experience it without analyzing. She gave the swing a gentle push as the swing moved forward. Zaltharak felt her body shift. The sensation of falling activated ancient neural pathways. As the swing reached its apex, there was a moment of weightlessness, followed by a descent that triggered responses she had not experienced before. Her 6 eyes widened and her skin flashed. With involuntary color patterns, Samantha pushed again, harder this time. The swing rose higher, creating a stronger sensation. Zaltharak's neural network experienced something entirely new. Neither pleasure nor pain, but something transcending both categories. It was pure aliveness. Awareness heightened beyond normal parameters. A sound escaped her that had never been recorded in her species' history. Something between a gasp and a trill. Her tentacles gripped the ropes tightly, not from calculated necessity, but from instinct higher called Zaltharak surprising herself. The request was not based on research requirements but on a desire to intensify the experience. Samantha complied, pushing with greater force. The swing arced higher through the air, creating stronger sensations of falling and rising. Zaltharak's bioluminescent skin pulsed with patterns that had no scientific purpose. Her neural architecture registered both alarm and something else, a form of stimulation that activated pleasure centers, simultaneously with threat assessment centers. The contradiction created a unique neural state, one that her species had supposedly evolved beyond, and yet it felt familiar, as if accessing ancient programming deep within her genetic code. The sensation grew as the swing continued. Eventually, Zaltharak realized she was experiencing something her research had documented but never understood. She was laughing. The sound was unfamiliar to her own audio receptors. Her species' communication involved clicks, whistles, and neural transmission. Not this strange vocalization, yet it emerged unbidden as the swing carried her through the air. After several minutes, the swing gradually slowed. Zaltharak remained seated, processing the experience. Samantha watched, with evident satisfaction. "Well," asked Samantha, "how was it?" Zaltharak searched her extensive vocabulary for appropriate terminology. "Inefficient," she finally said, "yet valuable." Her tentacles moved in patterns expressing confusion. This requires further analysis. That night, as Samantha slept, Zaltharak prepared her final report for the Science Council. The data was clear. Emotions, particularly fear, were not primitive responses to be transcended, but complex adaptive systems that enhanced functionality in ways pure logic could not. Fear drove humans to explore, innovate, and connect. It created bonds, strengthened communities, and motivated discovery. The most difficult section to write concerned her personal experience on the swing. The scientific method required reporting all observations, but this went beyond observation to subjective experience. Reporting such personal responses might damage her scientific credibility, yet excluding them would contradict the central finding that some knowledge required experience rather than observation. After careful consideration, Zaltharak included everything: her experience in the lake, the sensation of the swing, the unexpected emergence of laughter. The report concluded with a recommendation that would shock the galactic community. Rather than studying humans as primitive, the Council should consider learning from them. Emotional processing might represent not an evolutionary stage to transcend, but a valuable system to reintegrate. As morning approached, Zaltharak finalized her transmission. The report would either advance galactic understanding of intelligence or end her scientific career. Perhaps both. She encrypted the data and sent it to her ship. Samantha awoke and prepared a final meal before Zaltharak was scheduled to depart. They ate together, discussing the implications of the research. "So what happens next?" asked Samantha. "Will your people make more contact with humans?" Zaltharak considered the question. "My report challenges fundamental assumptions about advanced intelligence. The Council will require time to process these findings." She shifted her tentacles in a pattern expressing uncertainty. "My research suggests that our species' evolutionary path may have eliminated valuable systems in pursuit of pure logic. This conclusion will not be easily accepted." Samantha nodded thoughtfully. "Sometimes it's hard to admit we've been wrong, especially when we've built our identity around something." Her insight demonstrated the emotional intelligence Zaltharak had come to recognize. As the departure time approached, Samantha walked with Zaltharak to the designated coordinates for transport. The human seemed reluctant, extending the conversation with additional questions and observations. Before activating her transport signal, Zaltharak extended a formal tentacle in the human gesture of handshake. "Thank you for your participation in this research. Your contributions have been valuable." Samantha took the tentacle carefully, then surprised the alien by pulling her into what humans called a hug. The physical contact was unexpected, but Zaltharak did not withdraw.